So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to be comparing 3 different kinds of colored pencils. So we're going to do a cheap, moderate, and expensive. So people have different opinions on what are cheap, what's expensive. So first, for our cheap one, we have the cheapest colored pencils I could find. They're 90-something cents at Walmart. Pen and Gear, I think they're Walmart brand. Then for our mediate or intermediate or the in-between ones, I have Crayola. So those are just slightly more expensive than these. And then for our expensive ones, I have some Prina colored pencils that I have in this set here. They're sort of similar to Primacolor or whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I've drawn this little thing here to test each colored pencil. So I'm gonna do black and red from each because those are colors that all of them have and colors that I use quite a bit. So I have just like rectangles so I can sort of do the shading and blend, and then a sphere with the light going this way so I can sort of see how it blends when you curve it. So, and I put the prices down here. These are 97 cents and the 12 pack of Crayola is around $3, and then a 12 pack of the Prima colored pencils are around $15. So that way you sort of have an idea of how much these are. That's for just the 12 pack of each one of these. Alright, so first I'm going to try these cheap Pen and Gear ones and do the cheap ones first, and I'm just going to do this little cylinder sort of shade, so dark to light, and we'll see how it turns out. And then we'll do the moderate with the Crayola, and then the expensive with that. And I'm going to do the red with the circle as a sphere. So I'm trying to shade it dark to light with the red there. And then we'll see how they all turn out and we'll compare them. Okay, so I got through doing the blending just for this rectangles, and definitely the moderate Crayola was my favorite. The cheap one really didn't do too bad with blending, which I was actually surprised by. Crayola did probably the best, and I was really disappointed in the expensive ones because they did the worst. Because parts of the tip kept breaking off and smudging on here, and then it was just not very good. For some reason it wouldn't blend very good on that one. As you can see, it's basically like all dark and then light, mainly because like right in here got spots smudged and stuff in there where I had to go through and darken it back up. But I'm going to go ahead and do the spheres with red and see if we have a different result. Maybe it's just this one pencil. Okay, so I got the spheres done now. And with this one, I like they're all red, so I'll put, this is the Crayola, this is the cheap one, and then this is the Prima, more expensive one of the red. So with the expensive one, with the Prima, I like the actual red color. With the Crayola and the Pen and Gear ones, that was almost more of a pinkish color, which I know when you do it lighter, it looks more pinkish, but you can sort of tell the difference. This one looks a little darker red. These look almost pink. So I do like the red of this better, but I think the one that blends the best is the Crayola still. The cheap one really didn't do too bad. The tip did start breaking off little chunks and made it hard to blend. This one didn't do too bad this time on the expensive one, but it's still a little bit harder, I feel like, to blend with that one. Yeah, so I think for me, my favorite overall is Crayola, because they're still pretty cheap, but yet they have good colored pencils. Like the cheap ones, I mean, you can still use them and they still blend pretty good, really, but they do, and sometimes when you sharpen them, they tend to break a lot easier, like the lead in the middle, or the whatever it is, pigment, I guess. But I think Crayola is the best because they're still moderately cheap and they blend pretty good. They have all different kinds of colors, and I like that it actually has on the back what they look like. Compared to like this one, it doesn't have anything, so you just have to manually test all of them, which I usually manually test my colored pencils before I color on them anyway. But it's nice to have this on the back so you can sort of see around about what the color is, which helps quite a bit when you're looking for a specific color. I think Crayola is probably your best bet for quality and good cheap price. Now there are several, like countless different colored pencils, and there's really expensive ones, probably like $100 or $200 or $1,000, but these are just somewhat expensive, especially if you go through a lot of them. You don't want to be spending a bunch of money on really expensive ones when they're really not that much better than, you know, Crayola ones. Yeah, so you guys can decide which ones you think look the best. Me, I think the Crayola ones probably look the best. The cheap ones actually look pretty good too. Expensive one, I like the sphere, but this one didn't turn out that great on the shading with the black. But I thought I would at least go through them. I've never done this where they're side by side. Like I've used them all before, but I haven't ever used them side by side and done comparisons like this. And even the cheap ones like these are fine. I use those sometimes, like, because I go through like the black colored pencils a lot. So sometimes I'll buy these just for cheap ones, you know, $1, and you get all these colored pencils and your black ones. And they're pretty good too. So honestly, I don't know that real expensive colored pencils are really worth it. You can use cheap ones and still get basically the same results. I think it's more so about technique. And one tip I did want to share with you guys is what I do a lot of times is if you're wanting something to be blended more or make it look smoother, you can, after you've already sort of done your shading and everything, just take a white colored pencil and press down on it and color over the whole thing, and it really smooths it out and helps blend those colors. Now if you're wanting like a really rough texture, I probably wouldn't do it, but especially if you're wanting something really smooth, this helps quite a bit. So I'm doing it on this here just so you can sort of see the difference. It really sort of helps blend, make it look smoother. So that's a technique that you can use with any colored pencils. So you can tell a little bit blended it. but I think it's more so about technique than your pencils. But some pencils, if they're really crappy, they do make it harder. But I think the most important part is technique, because I've seen some videos of people using random stuff in their house to color stuff. So I think it's mainly technique, and I think even these cheap ones or the Crayola will work fine. It's more so about practice and technique. So let me know what you guys think, and if you have your favorite colored pencils or your thoughts on it. So thank you and have a great day.